Today I'm going to be doing a full review and give you some insight into how I use the new Apple Pencil Pro for the M4 iPad Pro. So a lot of people aren't that sure if this new Apple Pencil Pro is really that much of an upgrade. Well, let's go through it. The first upgrade is the squeeze gesture. And that's activated by just squeezing the pencil. And thanks to another upgrade, it feels like you're actually pressing a button and it brings all the tools right here to you. And that's super handy when using Apple Notes and Freeform, which is the biggest apps I use the new Apple Pencil with anyway. Upgrade number 2 is the new barrel roll, which if we go over to something like a calligraphy pen, let's make this nice and large, you can see that the actual direction of how the brush is facing is changing depending on how you rotate the pencil itself, which is super cool to watch and to see. And when doing things like calligraphy, it gives it the proper effect, and you can actually rotate your brush in the middle of writing a word to actually really give that true and proper calligraphy experience. And that's actually really nice to have. The third upgrade, which kind of backs some of the other features of the pencil, is that now it gets haptic feedback. This makes the squeeze gesture come alive, like what I was saying before, where it feels like you're pressing an actual button. It also makes double tap even better by giving you a little tap back to know that you've actually activated the function, versus just guessing that you have, which is really nice when you're using it. So without this feature, the other features won't feel quite as good, and this is really essential to that. It also has a digital shadow. As you can see, while I'm writing this, you see the shadow of the pen tool following it. And it's hard to tell all the time, but this tool changes depending on what you're using. So for example, if I go back to that calligraphy pen, it now looks like I'm holding a calligraphy pen. Now watch, as I use barrel roll, the shadow actually rotates and you see other sides of that calligraphy pen. As I get a little bit further away from the screen, the shadow becomes more faded and less defined, like I'm actually getting further away. And the closer I get, the more defined and the clearer the shadow actually is, to give the impression you're actually getting closer or further away from the screen. This is one of those things that I did not think I would care about that much, but now that I have it, it is so neat and it just brings this experience to life. And it does actually help when I present with like Freeform or something like that, where I actually use this to help show what I'm actually pointing at. And it's much easier than just marking up the screen or whatever. I can just hover over it. Not only do you see the brush that I'm hovering with, but you actually see the pencil itself and even more clearly what I'm pointing at. And yes, this changes in direction as well. So if I'm holding my pencil way over here, it knows where the pencil is in relation to the iPad. So now the shadow is this way, and that's super cool. And lastly, the fifth new feature that this adds is Find My support. And this is really nice for anyone who has a problem keeping track of their Apple Pencil. For me, I've never really had that problem, but it is really nice to know that if I ever do lose it, I have that extra security. Now, about the Find My support. This is pretty crucial. If you give away or sell your Apple Pencil at any point down the road, just know that if it's still at all connected to your Find My app and you didn't remove it out of there, they will be unable to properly pair it to their new iPad. And that's a pretty big deal. This actually happened to me with my business partner. I gave him now the 13-inch iPad Pro to use and set up as his own. And when he went to use his Apple Pencil, it didn't work because it was still under my Apple ID. So I had to go and remove it. And this is what the screen looks like when you are removing the pencil, and some information it gives about it. And yes, it will not pair until you remove it from here. And then after that, he was able to pair it with no problems and it works flawlessly. He's able to add to his Find My, everything like that. So just be aware, it is just like every other Find My device. You need to remove it from there if you're going to sell or give it away. All right, so now what are the primary ways that I actually use this Apple Pencil for myself? I would say one of the biggest is Freeform. Writing in this app and using the shadow to point and gesture to different things. We have all of like our business planning meetings and all of our planning for Masters and Martyrs and things like that all usually happens and takes place on the Freeform app. So being able to use this to mark up documents or anything we're looking at, or just draw some lines, or like I said before, even just pointing has been really nice with the new Apple Pencil because it shows very clearly what I'm pointing at, especially when I'm mirroring this iPad to something like an Apple TV. It shows that like right away, and that's super, super cool, and that's very nice to have. There's no delay, and it's really easy to show people what you're looking at. Another big way I use this is every time I take notes or do studies for myself. This is a big part of that, and I've taken lots and lots of notes here, and I find this pen, especially since I can bring my tools right to me, it makes everything really, really convenient. And I've been taking notes with this iPad and this pencil for 3 weeks now, basically every single day. So I definitely have some experience with this, and I really do enjoy using it. I'm also a big dark mode user, and I even like taking some of my notes in dark mode. That's not gonna be for everyone, but I will say one kind of sad thing about it is that you don't really get that fun digital shadow when using it in dark mode, but I still really enjoy taking the notes here with this. And the squeeze gesture, bringing those tools, I just can't emphasize enough how much I like that. And I wish even my e-ink tablet could do something like that for note taking. It would make that tablet way cooler and way better, and I would really, really like that. I also do use this Apple Pencil for Final Cut Pro. I actually use it while scrubbing through video to go very quickly and look through some stuff to figure out where I want to make cuts. I actually really do wish Apple had more built-in squeeze gesture functions, the Final Cut Pro app, because that would be super cool if while you're hovering over this section, you could just squeeze and it cuts. Or it brings up a small menu that includes cut or some other functions as well, which would still be really, really cool. Whereas right now you kind of have to just use it to scrub, and you just click to where you want it to stay, and you go down here to actually make any of your edits. I also enjoy the Shaper 3D app and using the Apple Pencil to sketch on the shape itself, and then you can just extrude things, and it makes things really, really convenient, very quick. You can easily go other directions. There's a lot you can do very fast thanks to the Apple Pencil, and be able to draw and create shapes and lines. And if you use this app at all, if you use any kind of CAD software, anytime you can save is super nice, and I've really enjoyed this experience. However, both that use case and the one in Final Cut Pro hasn't really changed much between the second gen and this generation Apple Pencil, but it is still something I use it for all the time, and I do still like it a lot. And I do hope that both of those apps provide some more shortcuts with the squeeze gesture and actually make it even more usable with this new version. So this kind of brings me to a couple of the downsides of this new Apple Pencil, and the biggest downside is its compatibility. It is only compatible with this generation iPad Pro and the latest iPad Air. And that's a little sad. I really wish you could just take this on your iPad mini right now or other things like that, and some previous generation iPads, and just get all those upgrades without having to upgrade your iPad. That would be really, really cool. But as of right now, it's only with these newer iPads, and that's because they changed the way the magnets connect up top. So this will not actually even line up with any previous versions, and the Apple Pencil 2nd Gen won't line up with this new iPad at all either. So maybe Apple had a good reason for it, but it does seem possible that they could have just moved the magnets because they didn't want it to be compatible with older versions. I don't know. I'm not too broken up about it. I like that they kept it the same price as the old version, but I will say it would have been cooler if this could go on even more older versions and be even more compatible that way. Then, as I was kind of mentioning before, I wish in things like Final Cut and other apps that it had more developer support here, where the squeeze gesture could be taken advantage of fully. I think it'd be cool if in the camera app you could squeeze and it takes a picture, things like that. I really do think that developers and even native Apple apps can do way more than they're actually doing right now with this gesture. And I hope that will get better. And I even know of many apps like Procreate that are actually actively in beta development with those new features with the squeeze gesture. So people are doing it, it's gonna roll out, but it's not gonna be immediate. So just be aware that the biggest place this works in is Apple Notes and Freeform as of right now. All right, so is this basically the peak pencil, the best it's ever gonna get, and the coolest Apple Pencil they're ever gonna make? I don't know about that. I do see some ways that I would still have improved this, and some things that I wish they would have added in this version too, that I think would have been totally possible to do. One of the biggest things that I think they could have totally added with this Apple Pencil, especially now that it has Find My support and it's actually associated with your Apple ID, I think it'd be really neat if you could have this paired to your iPad, but then it just instantly auto switches to be on your iPhone. That just makes sense to me. Like, why can't this auto switch like they do with their AirPods? That would be so cool. And I think utilizing an Apple Pencil on an iPhone would be something that I would definitely do. And not all the time, but it would be neat to have that option. And it's not like they're gonna lose money. They could still make it where you have to have an iPad to initially pair and even charge the device. But if it could just work with the iPhone too, that would be neat. And I would really enjoy using that. I also think I would enjoy some more first-party Apple Pencil tips. I think the tip that comes with is fine, but I would prefer some other options, maybe that add some more tactile feedback, maybe that add some more grip or whatever. I'd be very curious what Apple themselves natively would be able to come up with. And I think it's a missed opportunity for them to not be able to sell some extra kinds of more customizable tips. I know there are third-party companies that do this, but I think having Apple themselves do it would offer a lot more proper support and could do a lot more with that. However, that is me just kind of nitpicking here, and I really overall do think this Apple Pencil is super, super good, and there is absolutely no problem with it, and it is a welcome improvement and fixes a lot of the issues a lot of people had with previous versions. I think the way that the squeeze gesture works is very natural, and it really just flows in with everything you already use the Apple Pencil for. And I think that that's a great thing that Apple added. I think having Find My support is very helpful. Just remember, if you do sell it, please remove it from your Find My, or the person you sell it to is not gonna be able to utilize it. So it is very important that you do that step. And honestly, it had 5 really good new features with it. And I can't really be mad at that. Even if there's a couple things I would have liked to see with the Apple Pencil, this is a really good upgrade. And especially if you're getting the newer iPads, you're pretty much gonna have to pick this pencil anyway. And this is really, really good for it. I don't think it's so good where if you have an older iPad and you're not really ready to upgrade, that you should upgrade just for this pencil. That's a little bit pushing it in my opinion, but it is still really good. But if you are on the fence of whether or not to get the new iPad Pro, this Apple Pencil might just push you over the edge. I know for me, both of the accessories was a big part of why I wanted the new M4 iPad Pro. If you're wanting to see anything else on this new Apple Pencil, please let me know in the comments below. I will be totally willing to make any more follow-up videos and test it out in many different ways. And if you want to see way more videos on the iPad Pro themselves, I'm going to have a playlist to all those linked below. I'm going to have a full review of this 11-inch iPad Pro coming out really soon here, so stay tuned for that. And make sure you're subscribed for all those future videos on the M4 iPad Pro and on this Apple Pencil and everything like that. I want to do a screen protector test, so all sorts of different kinds with the Apple Pencil and with the nano texture screen and all sorts of things like that. So please stay tuned. All that is coming really soon. And if you're curious about my setup at all, it's all gonna be linked in the description below. And please, if you're willing to donate to this channel, it's gonna help me make way more videos and faster as well. So there's a link to donate below. You can also donate with the built-in YouTube thanks button that is now there for you guys. So any of those would be very, very helpful. And that allows me to make way more content and way quicker for you guys as well. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.